Having backed Star Citizen 12 years ago, I have seen many releases ranging from the Hangar module to the big releases of 2.0, 3.0, and even today's releases. While the scope and vision of the game has grown over the years, you can tell that it has a ton of potential if CIG can deliver on this ambitious game. And after witnessing this growth and various changes over the years as Star Citizen continues to grow in popularity, I believe it's given me a lot more insight than I normally would have. But what about everything that they don't tell you from the beginning? Well, in today's video, we'll cover what I believe you should know as a current player, or even if you're just interested in Star Citizen. A lot of this is just my views and opinions based on my experience, so keep that in mind. If you love Star Citizen and enjoy this type of content, smash that like button, and be sure to share your thoughts in the comments of what your experience has been like over the years. Your engagement with the channel helps us gauge your interest in all things Star Citizen. And if you love to discuss the game's future, news, and updates that are clear and concise, and enjoy seeing all of the great sim gear and peripherals on the market, then consider supporting the channel by clicking that subscribe button so you can stay informed on everything going on. Let's reach a goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. The cycle of Star Citizen has been relatively unchanged for the better half of its development. A new patch gets released, players get excited to have something new to play, and then as time goes on, they get bored and upset that nothing is happening, and then all new updates are put on the roadmap for the next patch. It gets released to the Evocati and then to subsequent waves, and then the cycle repeats itself. Each time this occurs, Star Citizen showcases its remarkable potential to demonstrate its extensive capabilities. For dreamers, this facilitates the visualization of the game's vision and potential. Realists acknowledge the potential for greatness while basing their assessment on their own experiences, and skeptics, often influenced by negative media coverage, question the game's viability. Each perspective holds validity with its respective context. As the game continued to bring in tons of money during the course of its development, the scope and the vision of the game grew as well. This caused much of the original foundation to be reworked by creating specialized tools for development, heavily modifying the original CryEngine to be its own unique star engine, and adding major tech such as object container streaming, persistent entity streaming, and eventually static and dynamic server meshing. Additionally, since the focus was primarily on developing Squadron 42 over the years, due to it originally being the game that would get created first, and the game the Kickstarter was created for, many of the developers were over in Manchester, working hard to deliver on the promises they initially made. This ended up causing many patches and even release dates to be continually delayed year in and year out. This displays the biggest issue with the development of Star Citizen, but also what's great about it. The development of the game is fairly transparent, in that we get regular updates almost every week, with information on features, vehicles, and more being shown. In a normal situation, much of what we currently see and play would never be shown to the general public, and those privy would be under NDA during its alpha testing. If it were any other publisher or developer, none of us would have any idea that such a project existed. Many of these delays can be attributed to the fact that they rely on other foundational features such as persistent entity streaming, static server meshing, or even basic gameplay features to be in and working to assess if they fundamentally work enough so that developers can move on to other tasks. Now, the communication within this project is also its greatest strength and weakness as well, and over the last 12 years of watching everything unfold, some of the communication has gotten better, while other parts seemingly have gotten worse, with developers sometimes being overly candid, telling us exactly what to expect, and others making fairly fundamental changes to the game, only to respond once the community has grabbed enough pitchforks, when they could have communicated why they're making a change prior. If you're looking to get into Star Citizen, you need to properly set your expectations and expect missing features, missed deadlines, and continued development. There are a ton of optimistic and passionate people behind this ambitious project, but many things within game development don't always work out as expected. And that's important to remember when dealing with a game such as Star Citizen. For me, as time progressed and numerous updates were implemented, I reached a point of exhaustion due to the repeated delays in release dates, the continuous addition of new features, and the constant modifications and complete refactors to the flight model. These changes seemed to hinder progress rather than facilitate it. And around 2018, my frustration reached a peak, leading me to completely abandon the game for approximately a year. Every quarter, I would return to assess any developments or changes, but my active engagement was typically limited to less than a week. Instead, I immersed myself in flight simulators such as DCS and explored various contemporary games, including Destiny 2, where I began to enjoy games again. but I was really hopeful for Star Citizen and really wanted the project to be successful. Around August of 2023, I returned from a long year away from home. And it was about that time that I jumped back into Star Citizen and saw recent updates and the introduction of persistent entity streaming, having heard about but not experiencing the rough launch of 3.18. Now, I still saw the potential the game had, but I needed to get to a point to commit to coming back. It wasn't until CitizenCon that my optimism and excitement for the game finally returned, and I began to see things take shape. After years of waiting, much of this is what I wanted to see years ago. And with development beginning to move from Squadron 42 and onto Star Citizen, I felt that this was the moment in time I might be able to see a ton of change over the next few years. While there are many more features to develop like new gameplay loops, major tech updates to be added and fine-tuned like server meshing, and highly anticipated ships like the Polaris and Merchantman, the game is beginning to look like something I will want to play for the better part of a decade, and is one of the most ambitious projects I've seen in a long time that can be on another level in many ways. Much of the realization of how much bigger the game could be and the ambition of Chris Roberts came after the funding began to take off. New goals were set, and now CIG had to push even harder to get the game that they all wanted to make, that many players wanted to see. For example, the developers have many gameplay loops planned that they want to implement throughout development. From more advanced cargo hauling missions that would allow you to carry commodities to cities, space stations, settlements, outposts, or player bases, to massive distribution centers with their closed ecosystem that will allow players to complete missions and have them move cargo between the various warehouses and ships that venture to the location. Mining will continue to give you a way to collect metals, gases, and even ice to sell to various locations, store at your local base or hangar, and even gather all of the resources necessary to craft many different types of items or what's necessary to build your base. And with salvage, you'll be able to remove components and weapons from derelict ships, strip their hulls for constructed materials, or fracture and disintegrate a ship for recycled composites. But with salvage and mining, more might be added in the future, which will make it even more engaging and complex. With refining, we might be able to see the ability to take all of those resources and commodities to make pure versions that would enhance the level of quality and enable crafters to build higher tier items. For example, creating even better components for ships that will keep them running cleaner, quieter, and better than their counterparts. These same components will tie in the engineering and resource management gameplay that we've been seeing for the better half of a year, where we'll have 3 different subsections of that gameplay that will allow us to specialize what we want to do on the ship as an engineer. Do we want to be a tuner that can overclock the ship components for maximum performance or efficiency? Do we want to be a mechanic where we will dedicate ourselves to repairing components and replacing fuses when they begin to malfunction? Or do we just want to be the guy behind the scenes who's tasking out engineers and tuners to specific areas on the ship and responsible for adjusting power distribution, managing life support systems, controlling doors, and indicating to the crew where possible fires, damaged components, or fuses are located, all while sitting in our comfortable chair on the bridge? Bounty hunting will allow you to accept missions where you can pilot a range of combat vessels either alone or with a team, tracking down and eliminating designated criminals and looting their cargo or equipment. Additionally, one day you'll have the option to disembark from your ship to pursue these individuals on foot and employ non-lethal methods to capture them alive. Once apprehended, you can deliver them to your local bounty hunters guild for a reward. And then there's hacking gameplay, investigating, commercial and VIP transportation, medical gameplay, ship combat, FPS combat, smuggling, racing, ship and vehicle repair and recovery, base building, farming, crafting, data running, and science and exploration gameplay, which I recently covered. Now, if you're interested in getting the details of what I think exploration may look like in the future, I encourage you to check out the video I did last week. There's so much that you'll be able to see and do in Star Citizen once all of the features and systems are in place that will keep you engaged for hours on end and keep you coming back wanting more. And with so many options, the types of gameplay you engage in is really up to you. This provides you the freedom to explore various options and customize your gaming experience to your preferences. Even in the current state of the game, which may have some bugs and require further refinement, you retain the same level of autonomy to make choices and determine your course of action. As development progresses, we receive consistent updates and insights into remarkable features, ships, and their advancement every week. This enables us to witness their dedication to delivering exceptional content to the game and their vision for specific functionalities. After raising well over $700 million at the time of recording, the game appears to be gaining even more momentum than before. Despite questionable marketing decisions and the prioritization of yet another in-game event being added over a game-changing update that could fundamentally transform cargo gameplay, player inventories, and address a critical bug that allows players to exploit the game. Most of the time, a lot of these features being added are being made for the game that it will become, and not for the game as it is now, which creates a ton of frustration for players. These features, when they come to the game, aren't fixed or fully completed because they just need to be able to allow players to validate that the fundamental pieces will work with the game. So if you find that the game is causing you more frustration and irritation than enjoyment due to its unique quirks, bugs, and stability issues, I highly encourage you to take a break and explore many other great games. And check in here occasionally to get the latest updates. The game will always be here whenever you decide to return. While there's a lot of negativity and clickbait articles surrounding the game due to its lengthy development time and controversial decisions, the developers remain extremely passionate and optimistic. And I anticipate that they will continue to work diligently to deliver a great experience in Squadron 42 and in Star Citizen. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to the most in the future, as I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to join our community by subscribing to this channel, where you'll be provided clear and concise news and updates on Star Citizen and reviews of some of the best gear and peripherals in the sim and gaming market. If you want to join the channel and support the creation of these videos, then consider becoming a member and get special perks such as loyalty badges, priority replies, and even access to special channels in my Discord. And if you want more information on what features such as crafting will bring to this game, then you'll want to check out this video. Fly safe, pilots, and we'll see you in the next video. Havoc out.